and welcome to my very first Celtic Rebel video weblog. Over the last 80 or 90 years, movies have become our primary source of entertainment, our primary escape from our doldrum lives. But is there something more? Are we being marketed products that we don't need? Are we being sold ideas that are not our own? Is history being rewritten or represented to us? Is there occult communication between those in the know? Is there ritual revealing of a sacrificial nature? Are we being predictively programmed? The answers to these questions are yes, 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 and yes. But sometimes, if you look beneath the surface of the movie, which is intended for the popcorn and chewing masses, you will see a much different story taking place, spoken in the language of symbols, metaphors, and a covert storyline. Today we look at John Carpenter's They Live, one of the most amazing and revealing films I have ever come across. Now, several people out there may not necessarily agree with that. But they're not looking past a campy science fiction surface story. You have to look much deeper than that. This is a film about truth. This is a film about awakening. This is a film about our present world. Now, if you try to interpret this literally as a wacky sci-fi plot, that's kind of like looking at the Bible and interpreting it literally. If you've done that, then you're going to miss out on the entire storyline. Let's meet our protagonist. He is Rowdy Roddy Piper, yes, the former wrestler. He's in dire economic straits. He's wandering about, he's lost. Most importantly, he is awakening to the reality that everything is not as it seems. Now, those of us who are undergoing our own process of awakening are going to soon identify with the character because he is undergoing the same transformation. He is a truth seeker. He is us. Our protagonist runs into the crazy preacher, this crazy blind man rambling on and on about a bunch of nonsense. At least that is what our conditioning tells us. But notice, our truth seeker decides to listen. His instinct is telling him there may be something to this. Pay close attention to the preacher's words. Anyone who's read the words of David Icke or Michael Tessarian, William Bramley, or Charles Fort may find them quite interesting.
They use their tongues to deceive. The venom of snakes is under their lips. Their mouths are full of bitterness and curses. And in their paths, nothing but ruin and misery. And the fear of God is not before their eyes. They have taken the hearts and minds of our leaders. They have recruited the rich and the powerful. And they have blinded us to the truth. Our human spirit is corrupted. Why do we worship greed? Because outside the limit of our sight, feeding off us, perched on top of us from birth to death, are our owners. Our owners. They have us. They control us. They are our masters. Wake up!
Now you have to ask yourself, why are they dragging the preacher away? You have to think critically. I know that years and years of indoctrination disguised as education has beaten down our critical thinking ability, but we have to try to think outside the box. Why do the police fear what this crazy man who nobody's going to pay attention to has to say? That is the question we have to ask. Note the preacher's final words, wake up, please wake up. Now, how many times have you truth seekers out there repeated that same thing to all your friends, all your family that won't believe you? In the movie, there's another voice that's there to try to wake up the people. That voice is introduced as the hacker. I prefer to call that voice the voice of truth.
Our impulses are being redirected. We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep. Their intention to rule rests with the annihilation of consciousness. We have been lulled into a trance. They have made us indifferent to ourselves, to others. We are focused only on our own gain.
Is this what we've been reduced to? Is that how pathetic we've become? Well, you need look no further than a typical American teenager for your answer. Look how obsessed they are with things that don't matter. Bling, style, the latest fads, fashions, having somebody else's name on their shirts and underwear. Willingly allowing MTV to dictate to them what their own musical tastes are. Do they care about anything that matters? Being intelligent? Thinking for themselves? Even the natural spirit of rebellion has been misdirected and controlled into the most fruitless and useless of avenues. Well, your average adult isn't that much better off. All you have to do is look among your friends and neighbors and see how petty we've all become as well. Obsessed with cars, our houses, looking better than our neighbors, being perceived as better, putting ourselves in debt to create that sense of perception. marketing ourselves to mates based more on what we have than who we are. This is not natural. This is so out of touch with ourselves. This is all ego-driven nonsense. And if you want to find the source of it, you need to look no further than your own television. Our protagonist, Roddy Piper, discovers a pair of sunglasses that allow him to see things as they really are. I find the sunglasses to be a very interesting metaphor. Now, I'm not sure how they made it into the movie or why they were chosen, if it was Ray Nelson's work or the hand of John Carpenter or any of the numerous other people that tend to work on movies of this nature. But the sunglasses as a metaphor for allowing one to see the truth raise a lot of interesting possibilities for us to contemplate. Now, what I'm inclined to believe is that the sunglasses represent a method for blocking out all the lies and disinformation and control that is spread by the cult of Aton. Now, for those who are familiar with Michael Tessarian or Ralph Ellis, the cult of Aton would be the solar cult that originated from the Hyksos dynasty of Amenhotep IV, who changed his name to Akhenaten and left Egypt, a.k.a. Moses. As even Sigmund Freud indicated, he believed that the entire Exodus story was generated as a cover for the Hyksos dynasty being forced to leave from Egypt. And I should probably also indicate that according to some, they believe that the source of what many of us perceive to be the evil that surrounds us in this world and all this social engineering that takes place has its roots back in Amenhotep and that dynasty. Other theories that would be supported by the use of the sunglass metaphor would be the Vatican, basically the continuation of the Roman Empire, and of course the Vatican's own solar deity, which would be the sun god Jesus Christ. The Illuminati from Bavaria and Ida Weishaupt could be another option to ward off the rays of the illuminated ones. And you could even take it as far as the Freemasons and their own solar deity of sorts, which would be Lucifer. With the sunglasses on, he sees the world as it really is. He was in the process of awakening, and now he has woken up. No more pretty pictures with models on them, no more advertisements for mundane products, nothing but propaganda. Instructions for how to live, instructions on how to be. If you don't think subliminals are something we are exposed to on a regular basis, you've got another thing coming. Remember George Bush and rats? Now, you could take the metaphor one step further and say when we are watching movies ourselves, we think we're watching an action flick, we're watching a love story, we're watching a horror film. But what is really happening is underneath the surface, via neurolinguistic programming, we are being instructed on how to live and implanted with ideas that are not even our own. Look around him in film. What do all the signs say? Stay asleep. Shop. Watch television. Conform. Obey. And in one of the more telling scenes of the movie, as the vendor holds the denominations of various Federal Reserve notes he has in his hand, they only say one thing on them. This is your God. Yes, we have allowed the Federal Reserve to manipulate us and let us turn this worthless paper into our Lord. Just look around at how pathetic people become over the concept, or how many scenes you've seen from different movies where there's a beautiful naked woman laying in bed, tossing Federal Reserve notes over her body, covering herself up with them. Oh, joy. In the movie, our protagonist is getting a headache. What's causing him a headache is the sunglasses, but symbolically what's really causing him the headache is learning the truth, and being exposed to the truth opens you up to the fact that you may actually know nothing and that your whole life has been a lie. A lot of us who consider ourselves awake consider 9/11 the watershed event in our lifetime. But if you go back through history, there have been several events, and 9/11 was just a series in the chain. You will have to realize that you are actually completely ignorant and know nothing. Now you have to start educating yourself all over again. And now he sees his first alien.
What's your problem? I said, what's your problem?
Now, while there are many who feel that aliens may actually be living among us and that we are controlled by an alien race, since this film does tend to speak in the language of metaphors, a good case could be made that the aliens in this film are representative of the Zionists and the Ashkenazi Jews they control. That topic we'll have to come back to.
I've got one that can see.